to episode 2 with me and Aristotle, the smartest guy on the planet in 330 BC. He pretty much invented all these studies. His most famous student was Alexander the Great. He was an expert in philosophy and rhetoric, which we know now as public speaking or persuasion, politics and government. When it came to persuading people, he talked about three main ideas, three main strategies. I've called them the 3 pillars of persuasion, so I could put this little picture up of Greek columns. The first of them is logos. Does that word look like anything in English? Yes, obviously logos, but it's also closely related to our word logic. The next one is pathos or pathos. Words in English include sympathy, empathy, psychopath, sociopath, pathetic. They're all words to do with feelings. Your psychopath and your sociopath do not have normal feelings. But if you have empathy, you understand how somebody else feels. And finally, there's ethos or ethos. Nearest word in English is ethics. What's ethics all about? Right and wrong, okay? Actually, that wasn't what Aristotle was focused on here. He was more focused on the credibility of the speaker, but we'll get to that in a moment. If there's one job that's all about persuasion, it's advertising. So I'd like to work with you using commercials, adverts, to illustrate some of these concepts rather than just making up boring examples. In this first video, there are a couple of words you might not be familiar with if you are an international student. Tree hugger is another word for an environmentalist, somebody who's trying to protect nature. Tree huggers wrap their arms around trees to stop those evil Canadian lumberjacks coming to chop the trees down. And granola is a healthy breakfast cereal full of nuts and raisins and dried fruits, often eaten by tree huggers. Now this first video is for IBM. Think about it. It's originally a computer company. Computers are all about logos, logic. If you press this button, then this will happen. If you press that button, then that will happen. If you press this button, then that button, something else will happen. Okay, so I need you to go watch this video. The link is below and also should be at the top of the screen. And then come right back here when you've watched the video. Okay? The middle-aged, overweight middle manager. I'm not fat shaming here. I'm just looking at stereotypes and categories. Anyway, this man said, "Why should I sign?" And the lady persuaded him using logic. Fill in the gaps. If, then. If you sign, then. The company will save about $8 million. Okay, that's pure logic. And money is often used in logical persuasion. So if you use the logos strategy, you're probably using logic, such as if you do this, then that will happen. You may well be using numbers. In a report, those might be in the form of statistics. In a business proposal, it could be money, dollars. Logos is about words. Logos is about facts. Logos is about proof. Now there is a bias towards males and a bias towards older users to use these strategies. That doesn't mean that women aren't logical. We know plenty of logical women. It doesn't mean that young people aren't logical. We know plenty of young logical people. It's just there is a bias in our society. If you want to persuade somebody who is older and male, you may find that logic is the technique to use. So here's a question. Is this the most powerful means of persuasion, the most important tool to use? Some people think so. A lot of textbooks say so. You'll find professors saying this. You'll find older males saying this. You may find lawyers saying this, although lawyers use other techniques too. Logic is important, but is not the most powerful persuasive technique. Advertisers know this, and probably deep down, so do you. Here's a more powerful technique: pathos. Here's a beautiful example of a commercial using pathos. It might make you cry, so have the tissues ready. If you've seen this video before, and you'll recognize it immediately if you have, please watch it again. This time, rather than just letting it soak in, analyze it. Look at how many different techniques the filmmakers are using to manipulate you, to control you, because they are, and they're doing this brilliantly. And then look at the end and think about why this beautiful little film was made. Here's a confession. The first time I watched that video, and the second, and the third, a biological change happened inside me. Water appeared in my eyeballs and started trickling down the side of my face. These things are powerful. Every time I show this to a class, there are students crying. Now, it doesn't work on everybody. We are not the same. Different strategies work for different people. I think it worked for me because I was a single dad. I had a little girl who looked remarkably similar to this one at one point when she was about 5, when I was doing whatever I could, fixing toilets, painting, anything to make enough money to cover the house that my children and I lived in. Many of my younger female students shed tears watching this. Maybe they're thinking about their own dads. I've had somebody run out of the room because she remembered her father who'd passed away a year earlier. This is all about emotion. This is all about feeling. And the filmmakers have used amazing techniques, including the way they use the music, the lighting. If you did a deep analysis of this commercial, it's incredible what they've done. And why did they do it? To sell life insurance. Other things that count as pathos, as feeling, include when commercials use taste, or when a restaurant uses smells to tempt customers in. A bake shop, when you can walk past it and you can smell the fresh baked bread coming out of the bakery. Storytelling is a way to get at people emotionally. That's why we studied storytelling first. Any strong emotion, fear, love, hate. Politicians use these all the time, especially hate and fear right now. Don't tell me these aren't powerful. And there's one more of these strategies that's even more powerful than emotion and even more powerful than logic. That's ethos. Here's a fabulous example from about 50, 60 years ago. It's a real commercial. You probably couldn't show a commercial like this nowadays, but this one's real. Think about the role of the doctor in society. How do we look at him? Do we see him as a man of respect? By the way, I'm saying man here because in those days most doctors were men. And this was before we had Doctor Internet, okay? So doctors were people we looked up to. If the doctor said you should do this, he probably knew what he was talking about. So why should we smoke Camel cigarettes? Because the doctor does it, so it must be the right thing to do. Okay, in case you think this is weird and you're not like that, do you know anybody who does anything because somebody older than them or somebody they respect tells them to do it? Somebody in politics, your leader, your teacher, your parent, your big brother or big sister. Do you know anybody who does something because it says so in a book, like the Bible? Source of authority. This is all ethos, doing what we're supposed to do, what we are being told is the right thing to do. Do you know what this is? I'll give you a clue. Jordan. Yes, it's kind of pretty, but why would people pay a couple of $100 for a running shoe or basketball shoe? Because it's got the name Jordan on it, right? Now, if you wear one of these shoes, can you play basketball like Michael Jordan? Will it make your game better? And how many people actually use these shoes to play basketball? Ethos. And here's Jennifer Aniston. What's she famous for? Okay, she's being quite successful in movies right now, but she's really famous for Friends. And she's famous for another thing. For a woman in her early 50s, she looks pretty amazing. She has great skin, right? That must be because she uses Aveeno Active Naturals. Does she, though? Do you know how much she was paid to be in Friends? By the end of that series, every single one of those main actors was getting $1 million per episode. Per episode. And that show is still being played around the world. I'm sure they're still getting money from it. But maybe she does spend $10 on skincare. And here's Selena Gomez. Look at that beautiful hair. You too can have hair like that if you use this shampoo. Do you know how much it costs? $5.95 for the shampoo, maybe $12 if you include the conditioner. And we know that that's how she gets her hair like this, right? That's what we're supposed to believe. And the advertisers and the shampoo companies think it's worth paying this lady hundreds of thousands of dollars to help persuade us. But we're not stupid. We're not going to believe this. Head and Shoulders. This is Sofia Vergara, the highest paid actress on television in the world for the last 10 years. Head and Shoulders. ¿No me crees que uso Head and Shoulders? You don't believe that I use Head and Shoulders? Ha! Tienes razón. You're right. But oh look, the funny catch. Yo uso el nuevo Head and Shoulders. I use the new Head and Shoulders. Highest paid actor on American TV last year, higher than all the guys, uses a $7.97 shampoo. People clearly believe this strategy works.